Christ according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and 'the time is near.' Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified. For these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance, for I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls." The gospel of our Savior.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. Wow, our readings, the scriptures this morning give us a lot of imagery. And I would not say that it's exactly, at first glance, very consistent imagery. Got a lot of different images. It does feel consistent with my image of what it means to be a human. You boys wait right there. I'm going to need you in about 2.5 minutes, so stay right there. So my experience of being a human is both like the prophet Isaiah, this dream, this hope of a future for the next 100 generations. And you know, Isaiah the prophet was writing like 100 generations before us. So I'd like to imagine that we carry that hope forward for future generations, right? Some days I'm with Isaiah and I'm living the dream, the hope of this future. And some days I'm very in touch with the Messiah, Jesus, as he says, all these things that you see and depend upon, these foundational elements, they could be shaken. They are impermanent. Some of the things that you put all your trust in might just rattle and shake a bit. Sometimes I'm very in touch with my own feelings and worries and anxieties and fears, all that uncertainty about the future. And then there's that canticle we just read together responsively, also from Isaiah, from earlier in Isaiah, that says, whether you're hoping in the future or you're in the midst of great calamity, surely it is God who saves me. Right? Because things will be hard, and we need to remember where to turn. We can dance in between this hope and dreamy side of being a human being, and then also be dancing with the uncertainty and the fear, and we could be dancing and dancing and dancing. Do any of my younger friends want to come and spin with me? I think you'll do better than I do. When you see children spinning and dancing and going like this again and again and again, what will happen to you if I keep going? Brayden, if I keep going around and around, how am I going to feel? Dizzy! That's exactly right. I wrote that down already and you knew it. I will be dizzy if I spin. You want to spin with me a little bit? If I spin around and around, not too fast, you don't get hurt, I will be dizzy. If I feel dizzy, what do I need to do? Stop. And do what? What else will help me? Stop and sit down. Maybe hold on to the earth a little bit. You can sit down on your bottom and really know that you're not going to move for a few seconds. And you can let your equilibrium reestablish. Equilibrium is a fancy word for balance, right? Balance. Excellent. I like that. If any children want to come up, I'm going to do a drawing in just a minute, which could use some artistic help. You can come sit right here and be ready to help me if you want to help draw. So when we are spinning around in uncertainty and fear and anxiety, and we're looking for that flicker of hope that God has placed within each one of us, when we are dancing and spinning and becoming dizzy, we have this place where we go back to what is beneath us, that groundedness we know in God. And we do that by being the church. I'm not saying by going to church. Do you hear the difference? We do that. We get down low and return to equilibrium by being the church. Now, you can go to church to remember that we are called to be the church. And yet the church is not really the building. So we're going to do a little drawing up here this morning. All right. Now, I have on a very white outfit, so these are Sharpies. So when you are playing with this, be sure you are on this and not this, just to help me out a little bit. Good? Okay. I know I look like that. Okay. So first, we are going to draw a picture of what it means to be church for you. And you have to listen very carefully. I want every member of the congregation to be able to draw this church. If I walk up to you and say, draw the church, you're going to be able to do this. You believe me? All right, here we go. So first, we're going to put a couple of people right here. A couple of people. However you want to draw people, let's keep them kind of close together because that's part of being a church. Is being gathered together for fellowship and for worship and for learning. So being the church is coming together, gathering, right? So you guys keep drawing that. So these are God's people coming together in this space. Nice work. All right, now we've gathered together here because we are being the church. And when you're done with your person, let's back up so everybody can see. Do you see that we have some people gathered? Can everybody see? Okay, so this is the church. When we get together and we are gathered in this way to be the church, something happens. Is that me? Thank you. Nice. Which one? Excellent. Which one is Caroline? You're all up here. You're all up here. Sign there, okay? Representative. Caroline. There we are, Caroline. Okay, now you know. This one. She's very happy today. So when we come together to be the church, we gather. We have to come together. That's what's been so nice about worship in person. We come together and we are transformed. You want to decorate that heart with some colors? We are absolutely enclosed in the love of God in a way that changes us and makes us different than before we gathered. Today that might happen through the music. It might happen through, keep drawing. It might happen through the scriptures. It might happen because of what's happening around us, restoring our hope in the future. It might be just something inside that clicks and says, yep, I'm where I belong. I'm tapped in, I'm down low, regaining my equilibrium, right? Well, I love this because our transformation is becoming so big. on this drawing that it cannot be contained by this paper. Do you see it? Do you see how big it's getting? So what I think is happening when we gather and are transformed, we cannot contain it when we are being church. When we are gathered, they go way off. Well, try to keep it on there, but they kind of express that they go way off. So when we gather and when we are transformed, we then are sent. We are made apostles. We are sent out into the world, right? You may draw on that as long as you like while I continue with the sermon. You're doing a great job of illustrating it. Do y'all think you can draw the church? What it means to be the church, right? People gather, transformed, sent out. It's quite simple, just 3 words. Gather, transform, send. Now, I stayed up late last night for me on a Saturday and thought about all the different examples in my own life. Not all of them, but some for each of these words. Gather, transform, send. And I came here ready to tell you about those examples, but I didn't need to stay up and think of them. I see them here. I see them this morning. I see Mark picking up Harrison and bringing him to 8 o'clock church. I see hosts and greeters waiting to receive us. I see Betty and Jesse cheerfully welcoming us in. The space is warm. It is ready for us to gather. I see volunteers who record this service. I see musicians who prepared music for us so that we can gather here and then be transformed. I hear the words of Scripture reminding us that 100 generations ago, God's people were clinging to a dream, to the hope of the future. And I look out, and I once again believe, every time we gather, that for 100 generations more, we will tell these stories of God's love for us and allow the world around us to join us, and we will join them in transformation. God has such a big dream for this world, and God uses us, sends us out. It's not only when we go to Appalachia or Honduras or Baltimore City or out into the community, it's also whatever you do tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning, wherever you are tomorrow, 10:30 in the morning. You were sent there. You were sent there to bring that peace and that hope and that joy to a world that is hurting and longing and uncertain and afraid. So we need to be the church together in these ways so that we are fed and transformed and have the wherewithal to bring it wherever we are sent. Wow. Do you see how beautiful being the church is? This is really lovely. Thank you for the drawing, boys. Should we show everybody? That's good. Here, I'll hold it up high. You can hold it up high. Put all the lids on. If we can find them. Yeah, there you go. Good job. One more thing. So as we do this one more thing, I have one more thing as well. In the midst of a lot of uncertainty, what we can be certain about is that we will continue to gather, transform, and be sent out to the world. And one of the ways that we take that big hope that is in us and translate it into big plans for the future is by supporting the ministries of the church. If you have not yet made a pledge for the ongoing transforming hope, that work that we are sent out to do in 2023, we welcome that. The leaders of this congregation are always making a budget with some uncertainty. We cannot forecast the future perfectly. That's what this sermon started with. We don't know exactly what will happen. We do know that the people of God in this place are abundantly faithful and generous to the ministries of St. Andrew's. So if you could help the leaders of this congregation have just a shred of certainty, as much as we can muster for the ministries of the year ahead, that will help us to be prudent as the people of God. Friends, when we look around at some of our youngest members, and I'm looking at Abigail, if I can find her. Abigail was carried into church. How old is Abigail? One. Yeah, I think Abigail won the prize for being the youngest member here. Good job. You're a winner. Abigail and her parents, Matthew and Rachel, walked into this church for their first time today. Not to, totally embarrass you. When we look at somebody like Abigail, we remember why we are being the church. We have benefited from the transformation, from the nurture of this place. And we want to give that as a gift to every future generation. I invite you to consider this quote from Archbishop of Canterbury, of blessed memory, William Temple. Now, it's important to know when he was Archbishop of Canterbury. He died in 1944, while he was still Archbishop. So think about the 30s in England. Think about, he survived World War I in England, and then he is a leader in the church during World War II as it begins. I imagine him going up to Scapa Flow, which is in the Orkney Islands in Scotland, during World War II, to this incredible Navy place, right? That's where they plan to, how to sink the Bismarck. That gets planned in Scapa Flow at that naval base in Scotland. And he's there and he's preaching, and all these people in the midst of uncertainty and war, they steady themselves at worship. They gather to hear their Archbishop preach, and he says to them, friends, hey friends, can I take a step back? I think the mom's looking for you. Perfect! I just saw Hannah pop up and knew that maybe I was getting louder. But you can take it all the way to that. Very good. Show it slowly as you go so everybody can see it. Here we go. Just like that. This will be easier to carry, like that. Very nice and slow. Nice and slow. Very nice. Very nice. So all of these folks that are working in Scapa Flow hear their beloved Archbishop say to them that the church is the only organization that exists for the benefit of those who are not its members. Think about that. These men and women that are serving their nation, that are making ultimate sacrifices day in and day out to keep the world safe and move us back into peace again. They exist for the benefit of those around the world who are not necessarily in that space praying with them. It's not a revolutionary idea. It's been around for a long time. But Archbishop William Temple said it most eloquently. Friends, we exist not for the benefit of our members. We exist for those outside these doors and walls who are longing to know that in the midst of all the uncertainty about the future, all the fear and anxiety, there is a community that gathers regularly to remember the hope that is in us. Amen.
Here is